Hey, this is Robert. Many drivers jump at the chance to go out and drive, making money on their own time and schedule, and insurance just becomes an afterthought. Accidents do happen, so what do Uber and Lyft cover in the case a driver is involved in an accident? This video explains the coverage that both Uber and Lyft say is available for their drivers, which of course also affects passengers. In some U.S. cities, driving for services such as Uber Black, SUV, Uber Taxi, as well as UberX in certain cities such as New York City require a commercial insurance policy. Most cities outside of New York City don't require a commercial insurance policy for UberX and similar services. But according to Uber, they still maintain insurance to ensure these drivers for those services are protected to at least the same level of service that non-commercial drivers are while a rider is in the car. You're required to have proof of a personal insurance policy on your vehicle to qualify to be a driver. And if you're interested in the driver or vehicle requirements, I'll leave a link in the description below. So what exactly do these rideshare companies cover? With both Uber and Lyft, your personal insurance policy will cover you in an accident when you're offline. This is any time that you're using your vehicle for personal use, obviously, but also if you happen to go offline while you're out rideshare driving. So for instance, you finish dropping off a passenger, you're done for the day, and you want to go home without getting another request, so you go offline. You're covered under your personal insurance policy during this time, not by Uber or Lyft insurance. And it's anytime you're offline in the app, even during the time you're out rideshare driving. So when you're online in the driver app waiting for a ride request, if you're in an accident and it's your fault, you're covered by Uber and Lyft's policy for liability up to $50,000 per person for injury with $100,000 total injury liability per accident. You're also covered for $25,000 in total liability accident for property damage. According to Uber, if another person is at fault, you may make a claim against their insurance company, and that's also obvious. But they also say that your personal insurance policy may also cover you in this situation, and what they mean by that is if the other driver is at fault and their insurance doesn't completely cover you, it could be your collision, PIP, uninsured motorist, and or underinsured motorist that could cover you, but that's if you have any of those coverages on your personal policy. When you've accepted a ride request and you're on your way to pick up the rider, if you're in an accident and it's your fault, you're covered by Uber and Lyft's policy for liability up to $1 million for bodily injury and property damage. Also, you and any occupant in your vehicle, but it should only be you at this point because drivers aren't supposed to bring along passengers like spouses, friends, or family members. So you're covered under Uber and Lyft's insurance if you're in an accident and the other driver is at fault, and if they don't have insurance or their insurance limits don't cover the total amount for bodily injuries incurred. The same coverage also applies in a hit and run accident where the at-fault party can't be identified. Also, you're covered whether it was your fault or not for collision and comprehensive up to the amount of the total value of your vehicle with a $1,000 deductible for Uber and $2,500 for Lyft. Even though you'll be covered by Uber and Lyft's insurance in this case, apparently it only applies as long as you maintain collision insurance on your vehicle on your personal policy. When the rider is in your vehicle, the same coverage as during the request accepted period applies, plus the passenger is covered. So you're covered for up to $1 million for bodily injury and property damage for any accident where you're at fault, and you and the passenger are also covered for bodily injury if another driver is at fault and they either don't have insurance, they don't have enough to cover all the costs for injuries, or if they leave the scene and they can't be identified. Your vehicle is also covered whether it was your fault or not, again, as long as you maintain collision auto insurance on the vehicle. You're covered under Uber and Lyft's policy for the total value of the vehicle minus the $1,000 deductible for Uber and the $2,500 for Lyft. I posted an infographic, and it's very helpful to give a quick visual overview of coverage you can expect from Lyft, and it also helps with Uber since the coverages they offer are both very similar. So the link will be in the description below. But although Uber and Lyft do have very similar coverages as shown in the infographic, there are a couple of exceptions. Like during the time that you're online in the driver app waiting for a ride request, Lyft says coverages under their policy kick in when the driver's insurance does not respond. So apparently Lyft wants drivers to first report and or file a claim with their insurance company, and Lyft's insurance will step in if and when the driver's insurance doesn't respond. Uber simply says their policy covers the driver, so apparently it's not necessary for the driver to first report or file a claim with their insurance. And also with Uber, the deductible for collision and comprehensive is $1,000 instead of the $2,500 as with Lyft. There are some ways that your personal policy may help you even though you're covered by Uber's and Lyft's insurance, like if your policy has higher limits. In addition to the period when you're online in the driver app but you haven't received a request yet, your personal policy can also cover you if you have higher coverage amounts than Uber and Lyft offers. So for instance, this is when you're online but you haven't received a request yet. You're covered under both Uber and Lyft's insurance policy for liability to $50,000 per person for injury with $100,000 total, and you're also covered for $25,000 for property damage to the other vehicle. So if your policy has higher limits, let's say your policy covers $50,000 for liability property damage, which is $25,000 over what Uber and Lyft cover. If you're at fault and you damage another person's vehicle and it costs $35,000 to repair or replace it, your policy could make up for the extra $10,000. And you're not required to have these higher liability coverages amounts by law. So if you want to increase the limits on your policy, that's up to you. Now this is a way that drivers could really benefit. Lyft has a $2,500 deductible. Uber's is $1,000 for collision and comprehensive while a passenger's in the car. So if your personal policy has a $500 deductible for comprehensive and collision, your insurance company could cover the remainder of the deductible, so you only have to pay $500. So what about a personal rideshare policy? Many drivers take a chance. They don't tell their insurance companies that they're driving for a rideshare service. But if your insurance company finds out, they'll either drop you or they may tell you to get a rideshare endorsement if they offer it. But if they find out because you've been in an accident, they'll not only drop you, but they won't cover any damage. I spoke to an insurance agent that told me he sees only a $10 or $15 added on cost per month for a rideshare endorsement, and this was just for his company. But as drivers, we have to ask ourselves if saving $10 to $15 per month, or even if it costs more, is it worth the risk compared to being dropped and especially not covered during an accident? That's it for this video. Feel free to ask me any questions about what Uber and Lyft say they cover, and I'll do my best to help you. I know this is probably a lot of info to take in for one video, so don't forget about the link to the infographic in the description. And it's in a blog post which gives some more specifics and hopeful details on what Uber and Lyft cover. Thank you for watching the video.